Should I change?
I thought about.
Hang on.
There we go. It's not the same day at all.
We're two different people in two different locations talking about two different things
At a different time.
Oh, look, I've just pulled out Apocalypto.
The funny thing about that is that I don't know how much separation of time are between the recordings we've done at this.
No.
That might be a joke several weeks in the making.
Yeah. No one's going to get that Apocalypto gag.
That's what I'm thinking. Loyal viewers will.
Yeah.
One thing I probably didn't say on the other video was hello to everybody, and it's Glenn and Ben here for the Good Movie Monday podcast, and we are doing our lucky dip video where we pluck movies out of this and talk about them. Ben has not got a receptacle, so I'm doing all the work here.
Back in the day, Glenn used to fill the bottom of that container with Skittles. He hasn't done that in a very long time.
He says back in the day, he means 2 weeks in a row.
It was the same pack.
You know why I didn't put Skittles in there anymore. I'm looking out for you, mate. Looking out for you.
Yeah. Trying to help. I get it.
I have pulled out Baby's Day Out.
Oh, all right.
I
never watched any of these films.
Okay, we've only done one.
I've never watched any of those baby.
Okay.
They were doing like there's a couple of baby movies. Like I've watched Look Who's Talking and Look Who's Talking 2, but that's about as far as it goes with those baby movies.
Check out Baby's Day Out. It was written by John Hughes, and this is when John Hughes had transitioned into his sort of slapstick, post Home Alone sort of phase. It's got Lara Flynn Boyle. It's got Joe Pantoliano, whatever the fuck his name is. We call him Joey Pants. Joey Pants. And it's cut from the same cloth as Home Alone. So you think of all the pratfall stuff in Home Alone with the burglars, the wet bandits. The entire Baby's Day Out movie is that.
Yeah, right.
But it's very funny, and it's a comedy of circumstance, and it's a baby that has sort of gotten away from its handlers, and there are people after it, but the baby just inadvertently sabotages everything people do. It's like crawling across a plank of wood, and I don't know why the baby's on a plank of wood, but
it's like the plank. Do you remember that slapstick bit?
Yep.
We used to sell boatloads of that DVD. People used to come in like, "Have you got the plank?" Like, yes, but why?
That was British, wasn't it?
It was a British one, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, well, you haven't seen Baby's Day Out. I don't remember who directed that one, but yeah, definitely a John Hughes production and signature John Hughes as well.
I kind of need it to be on. I need to stumble upon it on TV when there's only 4 channels and
that's a perfect kind of movie to discover on television, I reckon. Because once you start, you're there, you're glued. It has you. What about Roman Holiday?
Oh, with Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah. Yes, it's
the right Hepburn.
Yeah, had to think then. I think we've made that mistake on the show before. At least I have. But I reckon the last time I watched Roman Holiday was only a year ago. It was fairly recent. It's a wonderful movie.
Yeah, like I don't think I've seen it since I saw it on TV.
Yeah.
And I think that's the last time I watched it on TV. Back when it was, I think it would have been like an 8:30 movie on TV, like prime time.
Yeah, right. I mean, and this is the movie that sort of was the foundation for your Princess. What is it? Fucking
Princess Diaries and all that.
Princess Diaries and all the Prince and Me kind of movies.
Yeah.
And
it's basically it happened one night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my favorite moments in this are the earlier moments when she sleeps over at Gregory Peck's house. He plays like a journalist that's sort of living it rough in a little apartment.
His apartment is so fucking cool.
I know. He has a hammock, doesn't he?
He's got a hammock. Like,
yeah.
You kind of it's like when you go into IKEA and you look at the little spaces they have for a house, and you're like, if I had no stuff, I could just live in like something this size. It's like the perfect hotel rooms. You just forget when you look around, you're like, oh, that's right. I like having other things. Sometimes I come back with a bag of stuff and I have to have somewhere to put that stuff.
It's got such a great feel, though, that movie. It flows very nicely. It's maybe a little bit overlong. I think it's sort of overstays its welcome by about 15 minutes. But other than that, it's marvelous. All right, I'm gonna have to top
that one.
Yeah, great question. I don't know. You're the one with the Google machine right there.
Not King Vidal, Gore Vidal or someone like that.
No, I reckon it's someone more like your Billy Wilder's, that type of caliber.
Roman Holiday. Let's have a look. It is William Wyler.
Alrighty, let's have a look here. Point Break.
I've seen that one. Not the new one, though. I haven't seen the new one.
Yeah, new one's terrible. OG's really good.
The movie that made Laurie Petty a star that lasted 3 films.
Yeah. This one was, I've forgotten his name, but it's written by the guy that wrote The Enforcer, and we interviewed the director of that on the show a couple of weeks ago. Richard Hughes, brother of Patrick Hughes. And this guy who wrote Point Break was prolific in the 90s. His fucking action movies were everywhere. But I just wish I could remember his name. But Point Break it's a banger, man. They don't make them like that anymore.
No, it was it's a lot better than that movie has any right to be, really. And it was like that's the one that, like, the dead presidents. Yeah. Like every movie that references dead presidents comes from Point Break, and it's good. I think it's one of the kind of last great Gary Busey, when he still looked like Gary Busey, films.
Oh, he was so good in it.
So
good in it, and it was the start of Keanu Reeves being an action star.
W. Peter Iliff did the screenplay.
Yeah, it sounds right. Iliff sounds right, but the W.
Story by Rick King and W. Peter Iliff.
Well, what's Iliff? Yeah, that's it. What's he done?
He, believe it or not, he does not have. I'm looking on Wikipedia, and his name is not. He does not have a Wikipedia profile.
That's all right. We'll bring him up real quick. I'll bring up The Enforcer and go from there. Of course, when you bring up The Enforcer at first, it brings up Dirty Harry, don't you know? Who's the quickest out of the stable here?
He's wearing a bandana and smoking a cigar in his IMDb picture.
Look at his credits though, dude.
Yeah, Under Suspicion, Varsity Blues, hello. Tales from the Crypt, Patriot Games.
Yep.
Prayer for the Roller Boys, is that with Corey Haim?
Yeah, remember that one? Yeah, but it was those. I remember when I was reading about him, I'm like, fucking Varsity Blues and Patriot Games and Point Break. Like, what a great string. It's a good run.
He tried his hand at directing, so he directed the episode of Tales of the Crypt that he wrote. And then he did a short, and the Rites of Passage, which I've never heard of.
Yeah, it's the Wesley Snipes one, I think.
Wes Bentley, Travis Van Winkle.
What a name!
Brother of Vanilla Ice. Christian Slater, Brianna Evigan, Stephen Dorff.
Yes, I know the one now. Yes.
It's relatively recent by the looks of that cast.
Yeah, and the reason I thought it was Wesley Snipes because he did a movie that had a pretty much identical poster, and I think that was called like Gallow Walker or Gallow Hunter or something like that. Anyway, fucking hell, look at Christian Slater on that poster. Anyway,
look at Stephen Dorff. He looks like a hard charging heartbreak Ridge style Marine.
Yeah,
he's like giving Clint Eastwood a run for his money, except that he's 5 foot tall. And he can't carry engine blocks around with his bare hands.
Oh, look, here's what I would call a damn near perfect movie. Babe
Ridge?
Pig in the City.
That's Luke Buckmaster's favorite film.
He's obsessed with George Miller, isn't he?
Doctor
Luke Dr. George Miller. Oh, Dr. Luke Buckmaster.
Dr. Luke, he just got his PhD.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean,
George Miller.
He's written a book about him.
But I think the obsession started basically with Babe Pig in the City, rather than
the other way around.
Most people like George Miller from Mad Max, or
I legitimately think
Eastwick, really.
I legitimately think that Babe Pig in the City is a near perfect movie. Like it is, it's scary, it's fun, it's better than the original. It was controversial at the time,
which is amazing because the original is a fantastic film.
It really is. But that was directed by Chris Noonan and like produced by George Miller. And I love that for part 2, George is like, I'm going to take the reins now.
This is too popular for me to give this to someone else.
Yeah. And I feel like number 2 is much more a heightened fantasy than the first one.
Yeah.
And I love that the focus shifts to the farmer's wife as opposed to the what was his name? Farmer. It wasn't Hogwarts. Yeah, but Father Hoggett. Yeah, Father Hoggett or something like that.
Is he in it?
Yeah, he is, and he sends his wife Magda Jabansky on her way. Yeah. So you know how she's got a small role in the first one. They just do the reversal.
They switch it, yeah.
And she takes a little pig into the big city, which is a fantasized version of Sydney. Like it's just, but it's the production value is great. The set designs are amazing. It's all in camera, and like I said, controversial because you had that pitbull scene right at the start, which you got a pitbull trying to attack the farmer's wife and babe, and then falls off a bridge and hangs by its neck, and like that apparently at the time, or it was at the time, very controversial. The newspapers were all over it.
Yeah, right.
Cruelty to animals and all this kind of stuff.
It's a fucking pig.
That was a dog.
It was a dog. Yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah, it's amazing though. Like you kill a dog, controversy. You go down the road and you pass a truck filled with 200 pigs crammed in just on their way to the abattoir. That's fine. That's fine. Double standard. It's that scene from Pulp Fiction, you know.
Yeah,
It'd be one hell of an entertaining pig.
Oh, okay. Why did I put this in there in the first place? Is a good question, but we got the Jetsons movie.
The kind of 80s one?
90s one. It was the only one they did a theatrical movie, and was it Tiffany? The singer Tiffany replaced whoever played Jane Jetson. Was Jane the daughter?
No, Judy.
So whoever played Judy in the original did not come back for the movie, and I think it was Tiffany, if I'm not mistaken, that did the voice. Correct me.
Is this
94
where they do kind of computerized animation instead of the original cell?
No, this was Cell. It was like 1994, I think.
I've got it.
Tiffany
is Judy Jetson. Mel Blanc is Mr. Spacely.
Yeah.
The rest of the people are all whoever they were.
I think most of the cast are the original voices, except for her.
Oh, Dana Hill is one of them. Audrey, the Vacation movies.
Yeah, I love you say the Vacation movies because she returned for Cousin Eddie's Island Adventure.
Yeah. She gets a plural.
What I find amusing is throughout the Vacation series, the whole gag, right, is that Audrey and Rusty are replaced every movie, right?
Yeah.
And that's an ongoing gag. And yet Juliette Lewis played her in number 3. And so for Cousin Eddie's Island Adventure, which is the spin-off from that, they bring back the original Audrey, who had nothing to do with that.
Yeah. Rick Dees does a voice.
Ah, really?
Rick Dees in the weekly top 40.
I went to the movies and saw the Jetsons.
Brad Garrett is in it. He does one of the voices. But he's way down the bottom of the cast list.
And you know what voice that is? The only one he knows.
Yeah. It's his voice. Raymond. Raymond.
There you go. Anyway.
But at least it's proper. Like I hate those cartoons when they change the animation style.
Well, a lot of those are Mexican movies and Spanish movies where, like the Top Cat one, it's this production company in Spain that just buy the license and then pump out these cheap 3D kind of animated movies, and then they hire like B-grade Hollywood stars to do the voices.
But because they can do the voices in America, they don't have to even go down to Mexico to do it.
Yeah, because I spoke to Ruby Rose because she did one, the Cranston Academy Monsters Unleashed, which is from the same production company, and I talked to her about the experience, and she's just recorded it basically from a local studio, and didn't have much to do with it.
Yeah, right. Well, that's because they did hear a lot. All the Disney, Little Mermaid 2 and 3 and all that sort of stuff were all farmed out to animation houses here and in Singapore. And
I had a great conversation with someone on TikTok recently because we've got lots of videos on there, and one of them is a question about what movie is the longest gap between original and sequel, right? And the answer is Babe 2. Babe 2. The answer is Bambi 2.
Right.
And in the comments, someone just...
Has that been topped now by Hocus Pocus 2?
No, it was 62 years or something like that between.
Jesus. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But anyway, someone commented, and I don't usually respond to the comments. I just let the comments comment amongst themselves because we've got some great conversations, thousands of comments. But one guy comes in and goes, oh, all those direct-to-video Disney sequels ruined Disney. And I'm like, to the contrary, they fucking saved Disney. Like, Disney were just about bankrupt, and was it Michael Eisner came in with the brainiac idea, let's make sequels to all of our classics, and that saved them on home video. They brought them back from the dead, or the brink at least. So as second rate as they are, they saved the day.
But it's, once again, it's always the audience. Like, those movies aren't for you anymore, buddy.
Yeah.
Ask your 4-year-old if they like Bambi too.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, you toe that line a lot. I mean, I like it, and I've kind of piggybacked off that too at times. When I've had conversations with people that diss things, that they're just no longer the demographic for. I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but like, what does your 5-year-old think of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, some of those, I mean, a lot of those Disney direct-to-video sequels were good and clever.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like I never actually watched them, but they used to rent the pants off at the video store,
and they got really meta. Like your Lion King, was it 1.5, which was number 3, all took place within the first Lion King from a different perspective. Same with Little Mermaid 3, and Cinderella was a twist in time. They did a whole like what if kind of scenario of the first movie, and I thought that was quite clever. But anyway, as if Bambi didn't traumatize enough people, they went and did part 2.
Yeah. And this time the dad gets killed.
Yeah, that's right.
The death of Bambi. Thumper murders Bambi in a fit of jealous rage.
Bambi was in the news recently because I think it was an old interview, but Tarantino made the headlines again about a list of favorite films that he said something to the effect of there are only 5 or 6 perfect films that he thinks are perfect, but then he also said there's only 2 movies he's ever walked out on. And I don't think it qualifies, but he said Bambi. He walked out on Bambi because it was traumatizing as a child, and he insisted that his mum take him home. It's like, that's not walking out on a movie to me.
Yeah.
It's
not walking out. Well, I don't know. There's walking out in disgust.
Yeah.
There's also walking out in like terror.
Yeah. I don't know. But when you're that old too, like, I don't know, like,
Yeah.
It doesn't qualify.
You're not walking out because of the craft is bad. Like, that's generally what that people mean. Like, just like,
but also,
the movie sucked. If the movie was good, just
what a pussy. The never-ending story traumatized me, but I didn't ask to leave the cinema. No. I just hid behind the seat.
Hid behind the chair, yeah. like a normal child.
I saw Ghostbusters theatrically, and we were in the front row at the Montmorency Cinemas, and that librarian fucking traumatized me.
Yeah, right.
Like, if you ask me to pinpoint scary movie moments in my life, that's one of the first ones.
Yeah, right.
Mind you, what was that, 84? I would have only been like 4 or 5.
For me, it was like Dad watching Doctor Who.
Oh, just the sound of that intro would scare me.
Yeah.
Still pretty
terrifying
scary.
Every episode.
Yeah, what an iconic sound that is. Anyway, we're just rambling now.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you go, and let's consider that another video in the can. See you later.
Oh, is that it?
Yep.
Oh, was that you just saying goodbye on the video, or
either way, it works?
Either way, yeah.